Welcome to our HR hiring best practices for leadership teams. This is part of our EBIT series. Our EBIT series are tidbits of e-learning information designed to help you with small learning pockets that help you make your next decisions on the direction that you're going. You're welcome to view our e-workshops, which are 1 day to multiple days, or our e-webinars, which are 60 to 90 minutes long. Let's move forward. One of the things that I teach in my leadership workshops and when I coach and consult with businesses, I teach leaders a partner mindset with their human resources department, known as HR. Remember, strong leaders are not apprehensive about HR. Weak leaders may be. I hear that they don't want HR in their business, and I teach quite the opposite. Strong leaders, they welcome the involvement of HR. They actually seek their advice, and they share their management style. For example, when I became part of any new organization, I would always meet with HR and let them know about my management style, how I manage, some of my philosophies, and some of my nuances that might be new to them. This allowed them to understand, maybe question and gain better insight, maybe push back if they disagreed. But most of all, it allowed them to understand that if they started hearing anything, they already knew my management style. Then that would allow them to collaborate. In fact, many times I brought things to HR on how I manage, and we worked on how to roll it out better, or other systems or processes where we built it together. In fact, it allowed them to gain buy-in. This allowed us ultimately to become more effective. Things that I felt important to communicate, HR agreed, and we've worked out more ways to communicate in our HR, onboarding documents and different ways in our meetings. They had great ideas, and that collaboration worked best for both of us. When we speak of best practices on this topic, we're speaking about hiring. What are some of the hiring's do's and don'ts? Well, a few recommended items are speak to the company culture when you're hiring. It's very important that even when you're interviewing and before you interview, but especially when you're interviewing and when you hire someone, that you establish the company culture at that time. Then speak to high expectations and gain commitment. I always tell someone, we have high expectations here at our organization, and you were hired because we believe that you meet those high expectations. Also, test for character and aptitude. Especially if they did assessments, I would test for character. I would have them give me examples of things that they did with their last employer and their aptitude to learn. Always be professional. Speak highly of your organization and be factual and, once again, professional. Finally, when we talk about expectations, it is at that time too that I would try to eliminate any entitlement culture and explain, here's a great company here that we have for your growth, and here are things that you can do that I would recommend would get you promoted and allow you to grow. One is self-accountability. Take self-accountability about your personal and professional development, because then when we have opportunities to invest in our employees, you make that choice easy. Second, understand our mission, our culture, and our initiatives, and align your development to those items that you can help execute better because you truly ingrain yourself within our organization. These are ways that you help eliminate entitlement from day one. So those are the hiring do's. The hiring don'ts, a few cautionary don'ts. Don't start someone before the onboarding is complete. And I've worked with many companies that this is always a nightmare. And in fact, it's usually because we're in need of people, and this actually makes the situation worse because we hire people and then we find out that maybe they weren't honest on their background check or their application, and there's reasons that we have to let them go. It actually creates that cycle that it hinders our hiring process. Do not Make promises that commit the organization that are not approved. Do not tell someone what you discovered from their previous employer. Do not ask out-of-bound questions. And those are questions where are pretty common sense, but always check with your HR on what are the more recent ones as well. Don't discuss out-of-bound issues like politics, religion, etc. In other words, don't give them an excuse on why they think that you may not have hired them as well. And do not tell someone why they were not hired. But here is a big do. Hire character and train skills. It sounds so easy, but many times, and especially when we're in a hiring need, we'll find that person that has the perfect resume. And this could be in sales. I worked with a company that repaired airplanes, and they were in dire need, and this mechanic had all the experience. But they had shaky character, and it showed, but they ignored it when they hired him. And then bad character is one of those things that will always show itself, and at the least opportune time. If someone has bad character, don't hire them. If you believe they may, but you're not sure, get others to interview. But always, if you have a choice between someone with questionable character but great experience and someone maybe with average experience, but you know that their character is pretty solid, hire the person whose character is pretty solid and then train the skills. Ultimately, you need to focus on the results. You need to build a hiring plan that makes hiring smarter. We talk about hire slow and fire fast. Well, that sounds easy, but if you have a hiring plan that's constantly in place, it helps keep your pipeline full. You need to have an assessment process that matches your culture. You need to have a questionnaire at the time of interview for the applicant. And when I say questionnaire, it's usually 10 questions that you want to test them. How much do they know about your organization? Did they research? Do they know your mission? Do they know your values? Do they know what industry or who your competitors may be? I want people that are real interested, and I want to see that they took an interest, that they researched us. Have preset questions for interviewers. Have them interviewed by multiple people. And have a scoring system that you could compare. Dive deeper on questioning and test in your questions to match their assessments. Use words like expand on that. Give me an example with your last employer where you did that. And remember, hire character and train skills. Another big thing to do is communication. I always tell leaders, great leaders repeat themselves. You may do this throughout the process. Best practices are set expectations, even in the interview. We have high expectations here. This is why you're being interviewed, because we believe that you match those. Talk about the mission, vision, and values of the organization and why they're so important and why every employee must know these and understand what their role is to make these very successful. Communicate what success looks like. Talk about rewards or consequences, and that's how people will be managed. And why you would always like to stay on rewards, but consequences are a fact of life, and it's there to help correct the person because we value that they do things right and have ultimate success with our organization. Define the evaluation process, how they will be evaluated, when, and how the scoring system works. Discuss career lattices, not career ladders, but lattices where if they can move laterally up or down within the organization, and define what the skill sets are for those, because you want to put self-accountability on them that if they're looking for a promotion or a lateral move, they know what skills and knowledge that they need to learn. And if they take some self-accountability and learning those skills and knowledge, it makes their case for them. And in any nuances that you have. I always talk about that I repeat myself constantly, but I remind them, whatever I'm repeating myself on, they should be aware of because it's important to me. Finally, let's talk about setting rules and guidelines for yourself and your leadership team
when they do the hiring. This starts by building a hiring plan that makes hiring smarter. We spoke about already, hire slow and fire fast. Have an assessment process that matches your culture. Have a questionnaire at the time of interview for the applicant. Remember, you want to test that they researched you. Have preset questions for interviewers, but then allow them to expand outside those questions. Have the interviewer scoring process so you can compare your notes. Dive deeper on questioning and test to match the assessment. Ask questions like, expand on that. Do the silent pause that they speak more, or give me an example of when you executed this at your former employer. And then finally, hire character and train skills. That's an imperative. Energy is from day one commitment to an employee. Remember, I always say, give me the benefit of your effort and every bit of your effort, and I'll give you the benefit of my time. But explain to them that you are energy focused and you want to only spend your energy where it makes an impact. And you will play favorites with your energy because you only want to spend it where it makes an impact. And here's a great quote to finish with. You can't teach employees to smile. They have to smile before you hire them. And that is by Art Nathan. So we're going to leave you with that, and thank you very much.
So hopefully this was useful. We thank you for attending. My name is Mark Villarreal. My email is mark@markvillarreal.com. My website is markvillarreal.com. My phone number is listed. And please subscribe to the YouTube so as new eBits come out or other videos, you'll be notified. Thank you very much.